Sometimes, to make photography interesting, you have to make it slightly harder for yourself. This is what I did many nights ago back in 2021 when I took my little camera and went out for a photo walk in Cambridge. A setup that is not exactly made for night photography. This was the Sony a6400 and the Sony 50mm f1.8. On paper, it might sound straightforward. We have a small camera and a prime lens with a fast aperture. But in reality, we have two main problems. First, the Sony a6400 doesn't have in-body image stabilization, which means I will have to lower my shutter speed to get enough light into the sensor, and I will have to trust that my hands won't shake. And the second is that the 50mm f1.8 on a cropped sensor, it won't be f1.8 as its name suggests. So with a setup like this, perfection at night is kind of a long shot. And that's why nights like this for me are about working within those limitations. It is about looking for the right frame, about reading the artificial light, about using the shadows and the reflections to emphasize small scenes that may appear only for a second before they disappear again. And because this is 50mm on an APS-C camera, the frame is going to feel quite tight as well. Something closer to that of a 75mm on a full frame, which means I will probably not be able to capture everything, but I will be able to capture enough, I think. So let's go out in night Cambridge and see what the city gives us. Hello from the voiceover. We begin with a spot I've been watching for a while. A narrow road, a classic building at the end, and the sides of the street closing in like a natural frame. The city had already built to the stage for me. I just needed the right person to walk into it and bring the scene to life. A familiar location can still surprise you when you stop treating it as such. So I framed the street vertically, letting the small pools of light guide the eye through the image. Then a man with hands fully occupied with his shopping passed through, giving the frame life and an element that it really needed, a clear subject with a subtle story to observe. Backlight is always tempting at night because it gives people a small glowing outline, almost like the darkness is drawing around them. I saw these two people moving through the frame and trying to catch the edge of the light. The final image is darker than I wanted, but the mood is still there. Quiet, cinematic, imperfect, and yet the beginning of better ones to come later tonight. The night takes shape by the people that walk through it, so this one became a little stranger with his frame. Across the road, a man in a black coat and a pointy white mask walked beside an old stone wall while his shadow stretched next to him. It felt eerie and theatrical, like a character from a mystery film had briefly stepped out into the real world. Blue hair immediately caught my attention because it connects to a small series I've been building around people with colorful hair. Instead of making a straightforward photo, I got low and pushed here towards the edge of the frame. The blurred white wall on the right took over the image, adding space, mystery, and a little visual tension. A plain wall became one of the most imaginative spots of the night. Whenever cars stopped across the road, their headlights projected enormous shadows onto it. So I waited, watching the wall like a screen. A cyclist passed through the light, and for a second the street turned into a little outdoor cinema. Some photos reveal themselves only after you take them. I made this frame quickly, and only later I noticed two people kissing on the sidewalk. Technically, this image is far from perfect, but that small moment gives it a heart. Without them, it's just a street scene. With them, it becomes a frame for their love. From the same spot, I noticed a man leaning against the wall that gave another scene shape. His body, the pavement, and the wall formed this almost perfect triangle, which is what made me lift the camera. Later I noticed the green traffic light reflecting on the ground, adding a small but beautiful extra layer I didn't fully see at first. By now, shadows had become the language of the walk. Two people passed by, but their shapes on the wall felt more interesting. I like how temporary it all feels. People move through the city, the light catches them for a second, and then only a shadow remains. The code did all the work in this one. The pattern, the texture, the movement, even the floating hair, everything tied together into a frame of motion and isolation. I placed the man right in the center of the light and kept the frame simple. Not every street photo needs a complicated story. Sometimes the visual personality is enough. After the darker and stranger frames, the scene felt like warmth. A couple stood close together in front of a glowing shop window, quietly looking inside. Nothing dramatic happened, but the closeness, the decorations, and the soft light gave the moment a gentle feeling. It felt like a small pause in the middle of the night. And the same applies for this next one. Two girls sitting on the pavement gave me one of those everyday details I love in street photography. The shiny red boots, the crossed legs, and the cola bottle beside them, all of it felt honest and real. Not a grand moment and profound, but relatable and warm, like a memory many of us share. This next storefront pulled me in first. Rectangles for windows, warm light, vintage clothes, and a doorway that seemed like the perfect frame. So I waited for someone to complete it. Eventually a man in a brown coat walked through the center, and the color matched the warmth of the shop so well that everything clicked. Through the glass of this restaurant across the street, the scene started to become layered and slightly dreamlike to my eyes. A painting of someone wearing a top hat is in the middle, surrounded by reflections, foreground blur, and pieces of the street outside. I like how the frame feels half real and half imagined, as if the window is mixing different worlds together. A new location always brings a bit of possibility. The carving path, the colored columns, and repeated shapes immediately made me want to explore this space. I framed someone walking through the center, using the path to pull the eye deeper into the image. I don't think I found the best photo here yet, but I will come back. One of my favorites from the night came together almost instantly here. The man, his shadow, and the surrounding shapes all sat beautifully inside the vertical frame. I knew it as soon as I took it that the subtle color of the scene was enough to allow the shapes and the shadows emerge. This frame needed strong contrast, deep blacks, and an almost monochromatic edit. I walked a few more steps over the bridge and into the next segment of the road. A blue barber shop appeared across the street, and the color immediately stopped me. The shapes and columns already created a strong frame, but then a man in a brown leather jacket crossed through it. The complementary blue and brown is one of my favorite color combinations, so I let the palette carry the photograph. And to close the night as it should, I noticed a quiet moment. A woman waited to cross the road surrounded by darkness while passing cars lit here from different directions. For a few seconds, the pavement and the road almost disappeared around her. She became the only thing the light wanted us to see, and then the moment was gone as it was the rim light around her. So that was our night, a simple night for street photography. A night that did not yield the most amazing portfolio of photos, but it resulted in many photos that materialized through observations. The best weapon we have for improvement. The gear combination was not the best for night, for sure. Many photos were not clean, and yet, at least for some of them, the story was still there. And that's where photography becomes interesting for me. Not when everything is easy, but when you try to get the best shots with the gear you have. When you manage to focus and see patterns, you see light in a different way than others have, and you manage to chase and capture moments that only appear for a moment and then they disappear. Not every photo needs to be technically perfect to be meaningful. So let me know what would be your preferred gear for night photography. And of course, let me know what do you think I could improve in order to get better night photos. Let me know in the comments, let's have a chat there. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, consider subscribing with the bell, or become a member to support the work behind these films. Now, if you want to see how I edit my photos to give them that cinematic look, click and watch this video next. That was all for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, I will see you on the streets. Bye bye.